Cloud provider went down and it was no longer available to you, would that destroy your business?
Secure.
Hi, my name is Bob Jameson with CSM International. This is the beginning of a new series concerning cybersecurity, data privacy, and just general IT. I'm starting the series with a question for you. If your cloud provider went down and it was no longer available to you, would that destroy your business? And if the answer to that is yes, I think you're going to find this series very interesting. So first, let me give you some context. Over the past 15 years, the technology industry has run one of the most successful marketing campaigns in business history, convincing nearly every company on earth that moving their data to the cloud was simply modern, smart, and inevitable. Cheaper, more secure, infinitely scalable, somebody else's problem to maintain. And for a lot of workloads, that pitch holds up fine. Email, collaboration tools, non-sensitive applications that benefit from elasticity. No argument there. But somewhere in that wholesale migration, a critical question got skipped. Not should we use the cloud, but which of our data should never leave our direct control in the first place, regardless of what it costs us inconvenience. That question is called data sovereignty. And most organizations have never actually answered it. They just migrated everything because that's what everybody else was doing. Data sovereignty means one thing: who actually has physical, legal, and operational control over your most important data. Not who you're paying, not who promises to protect it in the service agreement, who can actually walk into the room where it lives, who has legal authority to hand it over to a third party, and who decides what happens to it when something goes wrong. Here's what most companies don't think about until it's a crisis: the jurisdictional reach. If your data sits with a US-based cloud provider, it can be subject to US legal processes, regardless of where your company or your customers are located. If you're operating internationally, that's not hypothetical. That's a documented legal exposure. Concentration risk. A small number of providers host an enormous share of the world's business data. When one of them has a major outage, and it happens, and has happened repeatedly, taking down large parts of the internet for hours at a time, every company that built its core operations on that single point of failure goes down with it. Not because of anything they did wrong, because of a decision they made about where the control lives. Vendor leverage. Once your critical data and the systems that depend on it are fully embedded in a vendor's platform, you've lost negotiating leverage. Pricing changes, terms change, and migrating it out is expensive enough that most companies just absorb it. None of this means that the cloud is the enemy. It means that the convenience and control are different things. And most companies have been optimizing for convenience without ever asking what they are trading away. So there's a couple of implications with this. First one, for governments. Governments have figured this out faster than the private sector. Data localization laws are spreading globally. The European Union, India, and dozens of other jurisdictions have now rules requiring certain categories of data to stay within the national borders. In the U.S. defense sector, the same logic shows up in frameworks like the CMMC and the handling of its requirements for controlled unclassified information. Certain data simply cannot sit in general commercial cloud environments. It has to live in somewhere with a verified, auditable boundary. That's not bureaucracy for its own sake. That's a government acknowledging exactly the risk that we're talking about. There's implications for companies. For a business, practical implication is this: liability for a data breach does not transfer to your cloud vendor just because the data lived in their infrastructure. Your contract with them is about service obligations. Your legal and regulatory exposure always stays with you. So the real question every company needs to answer is narrow and specific. Which data, if exposed, breached, or simply unavailable for 48 hours would actually threaten the survival of the business? That data, your core intellectual property, your most sensitive customer records, the systems that run your actual operations, deserves a fundamentally different control standard than your email server. Another implication is for the future. This is about to get more urgent, not less. As companies feed proprietary data into AI systems, a new sovereignty question is emerging. When your data trains or informs somebody else's AI model, who actually owns the value that gets extracted from it? That conversation is just beginning, and most companies aren't even aware that they should be having it. So here's the idea I want you to take away from this. Data sovereignty is not an anti-cloud position. It's an anti-blind trust position. The cloud is a tool, a genuinely useful tool with the right workloads. The mistake isn't using it, it's using it without ever drawing a line around the most critical, small core data and systems that actually define your business, and asking whether that core belongs somewhere you can accurately see, audit, and control, or somewhere else. Most companies never draw that line. They let convenience decide for them, and by default, they migrate projects one at a time until their entire business is sitting in infrastructure they don't own and can't fully audit. And they only discover the cost of that decision when something goes horribly wrong. Sovereignty starts with a simple exercise. Name the data that if you lost direct control over it would actually threaten your business. Then go find out where it actually lives today. Most leaders have never done that exercise. The ones who have are making a very different infrastructure decisions than the ones who haven't. If you'd like to find out more about the technology that you've grown to depend on, please subscribe. In the next episode, we're going to cover the claim that the cloud is always cheaper, and find out why, for everybody who does the math, that's not the case.
System breach detected. Initializing defense protocols. Secure.